You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
This mind-boggling GOP cover-up will unravel everything America believes, based on an article by Ray Richman. Trump manufactures the fog. Democrats keep walking into it. The source is the symptom. The reporting premise here is straightforward. Trump lies. McConnell's condition is wrapped in rumor because power refuses candor. Or Biden's decline was hidden until it was impossible to hide. A weak Democratic Senate recruit in Maine imploded, and AI now corrodes whatever confidence people still had in images and video. That is the evidence. The larger story is not that Americans have become irrational. It is that institutions with real power have taught them to distrust every official version of events and act offended when trust collapses. Power belongs to the people hiding things. Trump is not just a loud liar. He is the president, and the source correctly treats him as the center of a political machine that weaponizes confusion. When he says the opposite of what is true, that is not a quirky media game. It is governance by disorientation. He benefits when reality is unstable, because accountability needs a shared factual baseline, and he works to destroy it. That is why the McConnell rumor mill matters. The problem is not gossip itself. The problem is a political class that leaves the public to guess about the health of elderly officials and acts surprised when speculation fills the vacuum. When institutions withhold basic truth, they do not preserve dignity. They create a market for paranoia. The Republican model is deliberate corruption. The source is right to call Trump's operation what it is: a self-enriching criminal enterprise presented as normal politics by a large slice of the country. That is not confusion. That is a governing style. The point is not merely that Trump lies about events. The point is that he makes lying the atmosphere in which Republican power can function. This is the larger pattern. Deliberate harm gets recoded as noise, and organized corruption gets dressed up as tribal loyalty. The public is told to treat scandal as exhaustion, criminality as routine, and obvious bad faith as just another opinion. That framing is not accidental. It is how authoritarian politics lowers the cost of abuse. Democrats do not get a pass for lowering the bar. The source is sharp as cell. Phone is the Plattner example. If Democrats want to present themselves as the institutional break on authoritarian politics, they cannot keep elevating candidates who arrive carrying a cargo hold of self-inflicted liabilities, then pretend the issue is merely bad luck. JSD, alcoholism, unresolved misconduct allegations, and a not-so-simple-to explanation that strains belief are not a strong foundation for a serious Senate run. This is not a demand for purity theater. It is a demand for democratic competence. When the opposing party is normalizing criminality and open contempt for institutions, Democrats cannot answer with candidates who make voters wonder whether the coalition can tell the difference between redemption and recklessness. Weak candidate vetting is not a side issue. It is a strategic failure that hands credibility back to the people trying to burn the place down. AI is not the cause. It is the accelerator. The source correctly notices that AI has not invented distrust so much as industrialized it. It makes images and video easier to fabricate, but it also poisons the evidentiary value of the real thing. That is the deeper damage. When every clip can be waved away as fake, accountability weakens because proof itself becomes negotiable. But the technology did not create this vulnerability out of thin air. It landed in a political culture already trained by Trump-era governance to doubt everything except partisan instinct. AI only accelerates a crisis built by institutions that have spent years trading honesty for message discipline and competence theater. The real collapse is institutional cowardice. The article circles an uncomfortable truth without fully landing on it. The public is not hallucinating distrust. It is responding to a system that repeatedly lies, conceals, and manages appearances instead of telling the truth when it still matters. Republicans have turned that into a governing strategy. Democrats, too often, have responded by managing the optics of decline instead of forcing accountability and building a cleaner standard for power. That is the political meaning of this story. Not that nobody knows what to believe, but that the institutions responsible for preserving legibility have chosen short-term control over public trust. The result is a country where the most ruthless actors thrive inside the fog they created, and everyone else is told to accept the haze as normal. The bottom line: this is not a mystery story. It is a power story. Trump's movement profits from misinformation, concealment, and degraded standards. Democrats undermine their own leverage when they tolerate weak vessels and call it pragmatism, and the public is left to navigate a system where truth arrives late, partial, or not at all. A democracy cannot function when its leading institutions treat reality as a branding problem. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Ross Story for today's article. With the automated voice of Lebritz R. Thanks for listening.